Hi, this is Rachel Kimsey, and you're listening to Pop Culture Addicts.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to Pop Culture Addicts. I am Tim. I am your host, and this is your reminder that you are watching and or listening to a show that is made by nerds for all you nerds. So we're glad to have you here today. Now, our guest today is an amazing voice actor with some highly recognizable credits to her name. She has voiced one of the big three, and I don't mean Ford, Chevy, or Dodge. Maybe she's done some commercials for them. I don't know. I didn't do that deep of a dive on that part of it, but we'll talk about that. But she is the voice of Wonder Woman in Justice League Action. Now, you've also heard her voice in the game Helldivers II. If you're a Helldiver, I am, and we could go into that a little bit, but Helldivers, she's the voice of the Eagle pilot. So if you're releasing those fun Eagle things, you're going to hear her voice a lot. So anyway, and you've also more than likely, if you are a daytime drama watcher, watched her in over 120 episodes of The Young and the Restless. And that just makes me sound tired and old. So in our chat tonight, we are going to discuss her origin story, the differences between on-camera and voice work. And we're going to throw something out, the universe. I'm going to say it right one of these times. Universe. And that's just going to be for funsies. But anyway, please help me to welcome Rachel Kimsey to Pop Culture Addicts. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here.
Thank you. I stumbled through it, but I got through the introduction. We made it. So
I believe in you.
Words are hard. So
everybody's got a word. If yours is universe, it's okay. Mine is
today digital. It's what's your word?
Digital.
Oh, yeah.
Saying digital in context is almost always it takes the third take. I don't know why.
Yeah, today it was universe. The other day it was similarly.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was an atrocity. I murdered that word so very badly, and I was like, words is hard. Sorry. So
words is hard. That is the subtitle of my entire profession.
I told somebody one day that if I ever wrote an autobiography, that it would be one of two titles: Words is Hard, or I Saw That Going Differently. So
those are both solid. I'd read both of those books.
Yeah, I think they'd be both pretty accurate for my life. So one could even be a subtitle for the other one, but yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, Rachel, the first question I love to ask everybody who comes to my show, and I do this for two reasons. I ask this question for two reasons. Number one, I like to know what makes people tick and why they do what they do. Why have they invested so much of themselves in this particular career path? And secondarily, I'm a massive nerd. And as you know, us nerds, we love a good origin story. So in the origin story of Rachel, what made you say, I need to be an entertainer?
So I discovered over the course of my life, a few different times I tried to do something different. And I still remember the day that I realized I'd rather be destitute doing this than making money doing something else. And I said, great, okay, then this is my life. This is the life that I'm in because it's the only thing I can realistically do and still wake up every day liking myself. I have other skills and talents, but this is where my joy lies. Okay. But it all comes back. It's so funny. I only began to really process my own origin story recently when I learned that not everyone, Tim, when they read books, hears all of the character voices and sees all of the set pieces and pictures a full studio production in their head. I didn't know that that's not how everybody reads, but that is always my whole life, how I've read books. And I am a reader. And as a reader, I have 100% of my life lived inside of the stories in the books that I read. And so the idea of that translating to the next step of saying those words out loud or walking those footsteps on a stage was the only thing that made sense. I'm a reader. And as a reader, I can't help but be an actor because that's the only reasonable next step. Some would say be a writer, but no. Somebody else has to write the words. I need somebody else to write the words because I hear the words in my head. So somebody else has to write them down for me. Please and thank you very much. We love the writers.
That's fantastic. That is the first time I've ever been given that answer. So that's kind of, it's A, unique, and B, awesome. Um, and it's interesting because now growing up and when reading books, I always assigned voices to different characters. So that as I was reading them in my head, I would hear that voice. I never like envisioned the locations or set pieces or anything along those lines, but I did assign voices.
Mhm.
And especially now in the days of audiobooks, I'm not as much of a reader anymore. I'm more of a listener of books
Mhm.
just because of time and constraints and all those things. Um,
100%.
yeah, so I'm big with audiobooks and love those, and I have a few favorite narrators,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been interesting for me because that's and then especially if it's a movie or something that when I do sit down and read a physical book, if it's something that's been made into a movie,
Mhm.
yeah, instantly. Like if I like I absolutely adore the book Ready Player One.
Oh,
And
yeah, I haven't read it.
I've oh
I've heard
Ernest
much.
Cline
I
is
have not had a
yeah.
chance.
So Ernest Cline is one of my favorite authors. I
Mhm.
love the way that he works in pop culture references and all these things that it's a lot of it is all stuff from my childhood, and I'm like, oh, look at he's talking. This could be me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So having watched the movie Ready Player One, which is granted different from the book, um,
Always.
but still the characters are the same. And so when I went back and read the book, because I'd already listened to Will Wheaton's reading of it,
Oh, I
but
bet he's great.
oh, he's
I bet he's
so
so
good,
good.
so good. And one of the things I love about Will's narration style is that when he reads and he voices the different characters, he doesn't try to give a bad female character impression. It's just he just
Honestly,
reads the character.
that's one of the only things that will make me DNF an audiobook.
Yeah,
They're the, like, woman doing a man
yeah.
this thing,
Just
or
read the voice.
even worse, a man trying to do a lady, and I'm just like, I was like, please just read the book. I believe you.
Yeah,
Please don't do that to my ears.
yeah. He does a really good job of just reading the book.
I love that.
Um, yeah, he's got a very very good cadence and very articulate when he's reading, and so it makes it
Mhm.
for me a very enjoyable read, listen,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Um, but yeah, so but the thing is, when I went back to read the book, sit down with the physical book, I struggled because I was hearing the movie voices
Oh,
and
interesting.
then also Will's voice. It was like there
Interesting.
was like a competition in my head because
Yeah,
those are the two worlds of which I know, this story from. So,
that makes sense.
yeah. So, what book was it that do you think as an avid reader, is there a book that you realize when you first realized that this is what you were doing?
So this is going to sound braggy, but it's just how it worked. I didn't know there was a word for this either. It turns out I was a hyperlexic kid. And so I taught myself to read around 2.5, 3. So I don't remember not being able to read. For whatever reason, reading was just a puzzle that made sense to me. So I never
Okay.
had to work at that. And so as a result, I never really came across books that I couldn't read. And what I'm discovering, I happen to have a hyperlexic kid, so I'm realizing the bigger challenge is finding books that are emotionally appropriate for the reading level. Um,
Sure.
so what was interesting is that what that meant is that, and I was also a library kid.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like I learned to ride a bike in order to ride to the library, you know? And so me and my older brother, we'd take off to the library. It was one of the places that we were allowed to go without supervision. Also, it was the 80s. Um, and so what I did as a kid was I tended to get deeply into a subject matter. And so like I can remember, for example, reading the book Indian in the Cupboard when I was, I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe in second grade. But what that did was it kicked off um, I remember like a 1.5 year long, searching binge on everything I could about Southwest tribal Indians. And some of that would be nonfiction and some of that would be fiction. And some of it, and I was just like, what else can I learn about that? Which kind of opened then my lens to like the American West. And I remember reading all of this sort of westward expansion literature that, yes, included Laura Ingalls Wilder, but also included like biographies written by girls who got stranded when their parents died of tuberculosis on the plains, and so I think a big part of it was I became this collector of subjects. And so all of it was very rich and alive. So I can't really point to one book necessarily, because I think the piece of me that always made the story whole was continually looking for what else would flesh out the rest of the world. And I think as an actor and in my profession, that's still kind of how I look at things, where I want to take everything that's on the page, but I think what makes the acting interesting is all of the stuff that it touches and all the stuff that it connects to. And all of that is, everything that I've read and everything that I've seen and every place that I've been. When I teach acting students, a big part of what I reiterate over and over again is there is no one else who is you. So bring all the things that make you to the table, because that's what's going to make your performance interesting and unique. You can't craft something that's unique, that's invented, but you can be distinct because you are, if you have the courage to show up with everything that makes you who you are. Because everybody did their own, rabbit holes and deep dives into what draws them in. So I can't really point to one book. It's more just the experience of living inside stories always made me want to gather more stories, and getting more stories took me to new places. So when I found out that you could live inside of those stories and make them alive with other people at the same time, I was like, well, that seems great. Let's do that. I can say it out loud and someone else is going to say it back to me, and it's going to actually be alive. And I mean, literally doing a play in the 5th grade changed my life. Like I was that kid where the very first play I ever did, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Or maybe be a nurse, but this is what I want to do.
Or maybe.
It's like, maybe. At that age where you're like, well, I want to be a doctor and I want to be a marine biologist and I also want to build bridges, but I want to be an actor. But I was like, but being an actor was always on the list, because the one thing that meant I could do all of the other stuff was be an actor. Because being an actor meant I still got to learn about building bridges and I still got to learn about marine biology. Because what if I got to make the movie about the next dolphin that got a prosthetic tail? I would have to do that. If they make a sequel to The Abyss, I got to bring all of my scuba diving knowledge to the table, and I can show up and be like, James Cameron, don't worry. I am ready to get certified as a deep sea diver beyond my open water certification. Let's go. It was the one place I was like, I can just keep learning stuff if this is my job. Cool.
Yeah, I had another guest a little while back said that out of all the things he's ever done, that acting was the top of the line for him because he got to be all those other things he dreamt about being as a kid.
Yeah.
So
it's one of the things that I think makes us so lucky is it's part of my job to try out everything. And it's part of my job to get to learn about everything. And that's my favorite stuff in the world.
I love the smile on your face as you were saying that. It was just, you're just the biggest grin right there. And I do love that. It's clear that this is very much part of your heart and who you are. So that's awesome. All right. So I mentioned in the intro that you have given voice to one of the big three. And that's the big three of DC Comics: Superman, Batman, and of course, Wonder Woman. So on Threads, I got a question from his user handle is @BestComicPanels. And they wanted to know, how does it feel to take on the role of such an iconic figure, such as Wonder Woman?
It still brings tears to my eyes every time that I think about how lucky I am that I get to be on the list of people who got to bring her to life, because Wonder Woman was my first iconic character too. You know, like
Nice.
I had Wonder Woman underoos as a kid. Like I watched the Linda Carter show before I even knew that comic books were a thing that you were allowed to have, you know. It's hard for girls now to understand how few women there were to look to then. And Wonder Woman was my everything. And getting to be able to voice her and portray her is the honor of a lifetime and always will be. And not only that, but to be able to do it with a group of people that I adore and respect so much, to have my bucket list as my first big animation credit is kind of destabilizing. Like everything else is like just backfilling after that, you know, like but truly getting to be one of the people who got to bring her to life will be the honor of my lifetime. It's like they always say that if you win an Oscar, that's going to be the first thing after your name on your tombstone. Like for me, I'm like, Wonder Woman will always be one of the first credits because it's such an honor. And it was such a joy. It was just the most fun I have ever had, with people who loved it as much as I did and cared about it as much as I did and knew way more about it than I would ever be able to. Like the wisdom in those rooms and the just millions of hours of reading and story that we got to do together was it's incalculable. And they're still some of my favorite people, and hopefully always will be some of the favorite people I've ever gotten to work with.
I really like that answer. That is really good. So, best comic panels. I hope that answered your question. I think she did a wonderful job with it. It's interesting for me because growing up, my kids were always really big into Justice League stuff. And when they were much smaller, we had my boys' room. We did 4 colors on the walls.
That's
one
cool.
of each wall, one to represent different characters of the Justice League.
Who'd you pick?
Well, they wanted black on the wall for Batman, but we did the inside of the closet, that one, because, you know, I was like, this could be
yellow. You could have
we did a yellow wall because they wanted a Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and we had green for Green Lantern.
Nice.
So we had a blue wall, a red wall, and a yellow wall, and a green wall, and then black closet.
That's awesome. So, that's so great.
Yeah, because even my boys were like, she's a really cool girl. So
yeah.
So growing up, we started off with that. We worked our way in, you know, by the time, 2016, my youngest son at that point was 14 when it came out. So we watched all of those. And so, yeah, you did a really good job on that. You kept the attention of my boys, and, you know, especially when they're in their teenage years and, you know, easily distracted by, shiny. So,
yeah, as are we all.
As they still are. So it is what it is. But yeah, so no, that's just a little background for us.
I love that.
So here's another question for you regarding your time as Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. Are there lessons that you have learned from that character that you use in either your personal or professional life?
The biggest lesson I learned was actually in the audition. And I know I've told this story before, but it really did change my life. In the audition for the show, I still remember I got 3 characters in the initial audition email, right? The agent sends you the email, and there's sides for characters embedded in the email. And I still remember one of the characters was Cersei. One of them was somebody else I don't remember, and one was Wonder Woman. And I panicked because Wonder Woman was so important to me. I was like, I don't know. I can't do it. Maybe I won't do it. And so I did whatever the other one was, and I was like, that's fine. I did Cersei, and I was like, hey, that was good. I like that. Like I'd hire me for that one. And I left Wonder Woman for the end. And the thing that's funny is I went through this process where I was like, I don't know what she sounds like.
Right.
It's a cartoon. I don't know what she sounds like. And like sitting with that. And I remember very specifically coming to the moment where I went, I guess what she sounds like is me when I feel like Wonder Woman. And that's what I did. And that journey of trying to figure out, how do I get it right? How do I do it right to do it justice? And moving toward, all I can do is what feels right to me. And that's the best I have. That journey, honestly, it changed my life. It changed my career. They could have chosen somebody else, and that person would have also been wonderful, but they did pick me. And I got to live in that and practice that and learn from the incredible people around me doing their best version. And that experience of getting scared and then getting humble and then getting courageous changed everything for me. And if I had to pick another one, it's that this show, because it was, I think one of the reasons they liked me for this one was the writers very specifically came in and they wanted a little bit more of a sense of humor. I mean, I remember Jim Krieg saying like, we're not giving her the same catchphrases. We're not giving her that stiff thing. And I was like, does she have catchphrases? Because those were never the things that I attached to as Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I was rejecting something that had been done for whatever reason. Those were never the things that were Wonder Woman to me. So it made sense that this version and this intention was new, because for whatever reason, we all were on the same page as those were totally legitimate, but somehow it wasn't what anchored it for me. Or else maybe I would have accidentally tried to do something that was that. But because that wasn't my thing, we went for this. There was slightly more of a sense of humor. And there was a day where they were like, but do the thing that you do. And I was like, what's the thing that I do? I don't know. I just do what makes sense to me. What's the thing that I do? I don't know what my thing is. But that, again, was this wonderful moment where I was like, well, I don't know what it is. So I guess I just have to do what makes sense to me with what I see. And it turns out that was always the answer. And that, again, was that journey of, I don't know how to do it right. All I can do is know how to move forward with integrity, which it turns out is the right answer. And that means that by definition, you are good enough because you are who you are. That was my lesson from Wonder Woman.
Love it.
And it's everything.
I love that. I think the realization of self in any shape that we get it is always a good thing, when we realize that we're able and capable to do certain things, because that ability has always been there. We just needed to turn the key to unlock the door.
Yeah.
So.
It's that shift from humility to courage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You're like, am I good enough? I am good enough.
And that doesn't mean that you're not humble anymore. It just means that you have a recognition of self in that moment. And that's absolutely okay. Yeah. Love that. That's a great story, by the way. I love that. What's my thing? Oh, my thing is just doing it the way I would do it. Got it. Okay.
I didn't know. I was terrified. They're like, do it your way. I was like, what's my way? What is my way? I don't know what my way is. I'm just.
When did I become a writer of this? I'm the actor. I just say the words. So that's beautiful. I love that. Okay. All right. Let's talk about some of the other characters that you have given life to, whether you have voiced them or portrayed them on screen. Now, I would assume that, like any other work, some bits came easier than others. So what's a character that you either voiced or portrayed on camera that came most naturally to you? Like it was almost automatic where you're just like, this is it.
So I was very fortunate to get to work on the TV show Heroes. And I was in season 2. And it was one of those times in my life where I read a page and I just knew everything about her.
Awesome.
I knew. So I was a character that had, again, superpowers. I had a character that had superpowers. What I didn't even know in the audition is that I was actually replacing an actress who'd gotten a job on another show. And I was a big fan of season 1. I just think it's a nearly perfect season of television.
Yes.
I just think it's extraordinary.
Yes.
But they had hidden it well enough in the audition sides, and they switched up some roles, and they changed stuff up to hide it, and it was hidden enough that I didn't assume that it was a character that I had seen before. But I do remember reading those sides and taking my time, and I was like, I know how old she was when she discovered her powers. I know how she discovered them. I know what it felt like when she discovered them. I know how she figured out that people didn't like that she had. I read the pages and I just slammed into the back of my brain the entire arc of this person. And she was completely real to me, and I knew everything about her. And for example, so the character's name was Michelle, and she could make people see things, right? And I immediately knew that right when she hit puberty, she was describing things and talking with her hands, and she was like, telling a story, and she was like pointing over here and doing this stuff. And then all of a sudden realized that other people could see what she saw. Well, but by the time she was an adult, she knew that she couldn't do this. So it became a very small, contained gesture. So I remember going into the audition and doing this very small hand gesture with each image that I wanted the character to see. But I knew exactly what I was painting with my voice and my mind and my body. And they were like, what's that thing that you're doing? Because it was so integrated into everything I knew about the character. It wasn't like, ooh, you should come up with a cool physical gesture that makes it. It was like, no. Well, when she was 12, she talked too much with her hands, and then she realized that was weird. So now she's an adult and she just does little tiny fingers, and that's enough. And that's how she can slide under the radar. And then it turns out the whole deal with this character, because I found out, I was like, oh, I'm stepping into the shoes of another great actress who had to go on to another show. I was like, oh, her whole thing was she does these things when people don't notice in order to manipulate them to get what she wants. So she was undercover the whole time, and that's how she used her powers. But I just intuitively knew that that's how this character would do stuff. And so the experience of just reading amazing writing and just knowing everything there was, and then getting to work on one of my absolute favorite shows was really tricky because it was also during the writer's strike. And so there was so much extra drama going on when it came to writing it. Boy, but I got to hang out with some of my favorite comic writers. I was just like, wait, do you mean Jeff Loeb is just upstairs and I can talk to him? I can just say hi to Brian Fuller because they're just here making this show, and they're fine with me saying hi because we're all making it together. I have a handful of signed comics that Jeff Loeb was like, well, sure, here. I was like, because I was just a big old giant dork.
I love it.
Fun fact, the episode that we were shooting we shot midweek to midweek, because it usually takes about 7 to 10 days to shoot an episode of TV. Over that weekend, Zach booked Star Trek. So on Friday we left and he was Siler, and on Monday we came back and he was Spock, and we were like, wow, your whole life is going to change. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah,
it was so cool. We were so excited for him.
That's awesome. That's a great story. You have awesome stories. I love this. All right. So, Rachel, I've also talked with several folks who have spent time on daytime dramas, similar to, of course, The Young and the Restless, or as I like to call it, The Old and the Tired. They've had similar takes on the next question I'm about to ask you, and I'm curious for your answer. Now, daytime dramas require a different mode of preparation, line readiness, and ability of the actor giving, the performance.
For sure.
How have these skills transferred to other aspects of your career?
There is something, I guess our theme today is superpowers. There's something that feels like having a superpower when you develop the skill to memorize literally dozens of pages of material in an incredibly short amount of time.
Sure.
Because suddenly there are so many hurdles that don't feel like hurdles anymore in your day-to-day life. Like being able to have a deeply attuned and sensitive memory is so much more impactful than I realized until I had it. Unfortunately, I then had 3 children in 5 years, and now I can't remember anything. I would love to go back to daytime so I can turn that part of my brain back on. But it was wild. I remember between the audition and the it's not well, I guess it is kind of a screen test. The screen test to get the job. They gave me 15 pages of material. And if you're not an actor, just know that's a lot. That's a lot. And it was for the next day. And I didn't know, but I intuited that was part of the test because that's the pace that daytime goes. And so part of the test was, can you learn this overnight? And can you flesh it out as a whole person overnight? You don't have time to slowly work and integrate this. And I remember sitting down with the material and being so overwhelmed and then having that moment, where like you just feel like the gear drop into place. Or I was like, well, I have to, so I'm gonna. And then it just worked. And it was amazing. By the time I was doing Days of Our Lives a couple of years later as a guest, Allison Sweeney was hosting The Biggest Loser at the time. And so, and she'd been on daytime forever. So her brain has the capacity of 26 people. But because she was hosting The Biggest Loser, they would sometimes shoot 2 or 3 or 4 of her episodes in one day.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was in her story. So sometimes I would shoot 2 or 3 or 4 episodes in one day. And I am not the person who has been on that show since I was 12 years old. They are not waiting for me. There is no time for me to mess up and go start again. So like I had to get it right. And I could.
Ooh.
I was like, I could get 40 pages of material overnight because there's something about like the way your brain just goes, you know what? I gotta, so I will. It's just gonna happen. And I don't know that capacity develops without a requirement. And there's just not that many spaces in life that have that requirement. And so I just feel really lucky that I got to experience that challenge so I could experience myself rising to it. And beyond that, it was just such an amazing education where, like I said, it takes 7 to 10 days to shoot an hour episode of primetime television.
Right.
We shot an hour of television a day. Like that pace is so instructive. There are differences in style and genre of production that make that possible, but not in the work that I'm doing. My work is the same. The production is different in order to speed up the process and make it efficient so you can accomplish an hour a day. But my job is the same, whether we're spending 6 months shooting a movie or 10 days shooting an hour of TV or 7 hours shooting an hour of TV. And it was really exciting to get to rise to the occasion and learn so much so fast. And I just feel really lucky that I had the opportunity.
I would say, yes, that is a superpower.
It felt cool. I'm not gonna lie. It felt really cool. I was like, I got this. I can memorize stuff. I got it. My short-term memory was incredible. Do I remember a single line I ever said on the show? I do not. It was all short-term memory, but my short-term memory was incredible.
Right. Yeah. As a father of 3 children, I understand the loss of memory and sometimes the will to live. But yeah, I understand I understand that all too well. Yeah. Feels like, before we had kids, everything was possible. And then I got the Men in Black memory flashy thingy that just kind of wiped everything. And now I'm like, I can tie my shoes. All right. I knew how to tie shoes. We're off to a good
I know
start.
3 different ways to tie a shoe because I was like, I got you, kid. I can tie shoes this way, and this way so that you can learn to tie your shoes. Let's go.
Yeah, you were that kind of mom. All right.
Tim. I know you've got them.
Talking is my superpower. That's what I do. That's the only one I've got. So I'm running with it. I always tell people, they say, well, because somebody asked me before what my superpower was. I'm like, my superpower legitimately is talking. And they say, well, that can't be it. I'm like, it has to be because that's the only way I talk my wife into marrying me. So that is my superpower.
Nice. Well played.
Wore her down like erosion. That's right. So in a very respectable way. But yeah, I wore her down like erosion. So just had to prove to her that I was the guy she should marry. Yeah. So and that's okay. I accepted the challenge. Yes, I accepted the challenge. It was good for me. All right. So I was going to ask the next question a certain way, but based on one of your answers earlier, I'm amending the question a touch. Okay. All right. So you've had some opportunities to play in some pretty great sandboxes over the years with all these IPs that you've been a part of. Now, I was just going to ask you, what's the sandbox you'd most love to play in? But I need to know, based on the fact that you're a voracious reader, is there a sandbox of a book that you would love to see brought to life that you would just, your heart would be like, I need to be part of this?
Okay. So because I'm a parent now, it's a totally different book list, right? Than it might have been 10 years ago.
Understood.
My kids are obsessed with Wings of Fire.
Okay.
We have read all 18 of those books. I am not kidding. Out loud at least 3 times a piece. And we have the audiobooks of the first 5, I think, that my kids have listened to dozens upon dozens upon dozens of times. I need to be a dragon, Tim. I need it. Because not only do I think Tweety Sutherland created an incredible world, I just love the creativity that goes, what if we made the dragons the center of the story and the humans were just like also there instead of constantly centering ourselves? Like, I love the idea of the lens shift all by itself. I love the way that she created these different worlds based on their ecology. Like, what an amazing matriarchal storytelling that is, right? Your ecology changes so much about who you are that it creates the cultures of the places you are, not to mention literally being a matriarchal dragon society. Like, I love it. I'm so into the whole thing. But then on top of that, the idea that I could do something that my kids love so much, like, I need to be a dragon, Tim. I need it. I need it. I want to meet it so bad. I want to meet it so bad.
I love it. Yeah. Okay.
Look, I could answer and say that, like, I need to go back to my own childhood IP. Like, would I die 7 deaths to be in Star Wars? Of course I would. Of course I would. And yet, there's still a part of, like, the urgency is totally different now that I have kids. I'm like, I need to make their childhood. I need to do what they are going to remember forever. Also, if anyone wants to put me in Star Wars, feel free. I would love it. I would love it very, very much.
Yeah.
Any of the versions.
Yeah.
I'm down.
It doesn't matter what Star Wars it is. Just, I've often said, I don't care what somebody wants to put me in a Star Wars for. If they're all Star Wars, it all counts. And even if I just get on the credits for being the guy who held a water bottle for somebody else, I don't care. I just want my name in a Star Wars credit before I die.
100%.
That's my goal. I don't know how I'm getting there, but that's my goal.
I played a god in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the game, and I was like, if this is all that I get, okay, I would. That still counts. I will take more, but this is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that still counts, by the way. You're there. So. But yeah, Wings of Fire. I've heard of that series before, and somebody else has recommended that to me. I haven't gotten onto it yet, but
it's great. I find the world very richly constructed. I find the space for the characters, it opens up the opportunity to discuss some really complicated things like family dynamics and trauma in a way that would feel very alienating to a younger audience. But instead, because you give yourself that little, right? It's like Star Trek. Like you give yourself that little space by making them other, and you can delve into these things that would feel too painful if they looked like you. And because it's a dragon, you're like, oh, well, we can deal with family trauma and abandonment and the PTSD of war and different family structures based on terrible things that have happened and found family and all those things that you're like, those would be very difficult to discuss. But because it's like just a teensy bit other, it opens up those worlds. And I just think it's handled really beautifully.
All right. Well, I need to, this is, like I said, you're the second person I think to recommend that book series to me. So that's probably one I need to add to my TBL. So to be listened to. My TBLT sounds like a sandwich. Right?
And because you're saying listened, the audiobooks, the narrator she is wonderful. I do not have her name off the top of my head, but the narrator is wonderful. She does a truly terrific job. So those are great.
Okay.
Those are great.
Awesome. I will definitely check that out. All right. Very cool. All right, Rachel, you have answered all of my questions admirably, but I have one yet to ask you, and that's my silly question, which really isn't all that silly. We just like to call it a silly question because it sounds like it'd be more fun. So, and based on your answer to this last question, I'm actually very curious to what your answer will be for this. Now, the background of this story is my live show co-host. Her name is Kathleen. Kathleen was out and about with her daughter. And somebody asked her daughter this question, but not Kathleen. And Kathleen thought, well, that's rude. You should never grow out of this question. Never age out. And so that question is, Rachel Kimsey, what's your favorite dinosaur?
I love the Parasaurolophus. I love it so much. I love her. She's hunky and she's an herbivore. And I love the Parasaurolophus. Also, it is just really fun to say. It's so fun to say. Yes.
Okay. That's a very solid answer. And honestly, the first time that one's been used.
Look, I'm not saying that it isn't more fun also because it is not a Triceratops, but it is also more fun to love because it is not a Triceratops. So when you come across it, it's like 6 times more exciting.
Triceratops guy.
I love the Triceratops. I got no gripes against the Triceratops. I'm just saying there's a very strong chance you're going to run across a Triceratops in your documentary or your book or your museum entry, but you're not always going to find a Parasaurolophus. And so when you do, it's like an extra 30% of joy.
I get that. That would make sense. And I love that answer. That is fantastic. Okay. You have some amazing answers, and by golly, I love them.
I'm just a big dork, Tim. That's what I am.
And then I think that's why I'm enjoying this so much, is that your dork matches my dork, and this is fantastic. Oh, Rachel, this has been so much fun for me. Thank you for being on Pop Culture Addicts today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you, your work, or any other dinosaurs you want to talk about?
I really need to talk about dinosaurs more. My website is rachelkimsey.com. I keep it very simple. You can also find me on the social medias at Rachel Kimsey because I got lucky and got my very own name. I am most often found on Instagram. I keep thinking I might have to get with the cool kids and be on TikTok more, but I have to rally. But I'm often there. You are as likely to find me doing permaculture gardening and chicken raising as talking about the next Comic-Cons I'm going to. Speaking of which, I am opening up my Comic-Con season. So hopefully you will see me out and about near you, appearing with properties like Genshin Impact and Helldivers II and Justice League Action and a as yet unnamed contractually television show that is finally coming back after 2 years this summer. So keep an eye out for fun things that I'm not allowed to say that are comic nerdy that we have been anxiously awaiting the return of this summer.
Nice.
I did not know, I am new to the Comic-Con circuit, but you can request guests at your local Comic-Con, and
Yes.
that helps get us to come. I love the opportunity to go to Comic-Cons with my husband, who I will also plug gently, Matthew Watterson. He is Magneto in X-Men 97 and the Doom guy in Doom and Conan the Barbarian and Virgil in Fallout, and he's very cool. I married up, Tim. I married so up.
Yeah.
It's very good. So if you would like us to come together, tell your local Comic-Con, because we love coming to see you. It'd be so much fun.
That is awesome. Yeah. I work closely with the Monroe Comic-Con folks. I run their panel room.
It's so fun.
So
obviously I talk a lot. I love doing panels. It's such a great time.
This will be my 5th year with them.
Nice.
So I'm very excited about that. Love doing that show. Yeah. So maybe I can talk them into getting you. So if you're free sometime in September, we might be able to work that work out. So hopefully we'll see. All right. Very cool. And I'll make sure that we put some links to not only your website, but your Instagram handle, of course, down below. And I'll throw up your IMDb resume as well, so that folks can get a good glimpse of all the things that you done been part of. So
I just keep showing up wherever they ask me.
That's a solid plan, Rachel. That's a very solid plan. Keep doing that, because so far it's led you to some really cool sandboxes, and it's been a lot of fun for us fans to be able to watch you do your thing, and you've given us a lot of joy. So thank you so much for that.
I appreciate it.
And guys, if you haven't caught on already, it seems like a really important time to remind you that subscribing to Pop Culture Addicts is the most important free thing that you can do today. It costs you nothing. $0, pesos, denarii, pound, lira, wherever you're listening to this from, it costs you 0 of them. And it helps me get more amazing guests like Rachel Kimsey here to come on, share these amazing stories that she has, and give us things to laugh about. So not only do we appreciate her coming, but we appreciate you logging on, clicking that like and subscribe button, and then going and checking out Rachel's work as well, because there's things coming up that she can't talk about, and we're going to want to hear about them. So make sure you follow her on all her socials. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and or listening to Pop Culture Addicts today. Thank you to Rachel Kimsey for coming to the show and sharing the Kimsey Whimsey. That seems like a lot of fun to say, and I'm going to try that at least one more time. But until the next time, and I just threw myself off with that. But until next,
I can't believe no one's ever said that before.
There's the Kimsey Whimsey. That's right. So until next time, kids and cadets, may the force be with you as you continue to live long and prosper. Goodbye. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Pop Culture Addicts. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@pcapod.com.